Thank you so very much for being back. And if you just joined us, Enterprise Morning, it is reaching you from Enterprise Television. Let's head straight to our conversation for today. Former Kaduna State Governor Nasir El-Rufai spent the night at the headquarters of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission in Abuja, where he is being questioned over alleged financial misconduct involving about 432 billion naira. An EFCC source confirmed he is with investigators but said it is unclear how long the interrogation will last. The investigation follows allegations by a Kaduna State House of Assembly ad hoc committee that loans obtained during the administration were mismanaged or used without due process. El-Rufai has denied the claims, describing them as politically motivated. Meanwhile, the federal government filed a 3-count charge against him, accusing him of unlawful intercepting the phone communication of the National Security Advisor Nuhu Ribadu. Tensions escalated at the EFCC office as pro and anti El-Rufai supporters clashed. Let's get talking. I still have Mr. Ayonuga. Thank you so very much for hanging on. Truly do appreciate your time.
Thank you for having me.
Yes. So let's get talking on some of these big issues. El-Rufai used to be a darling, a buddy of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. I remember the Chatham House, after all the things that happened there, they were dancing to Buga and having a swell time. I do not know at what point things actually caved and they became enemies, and I do not know what it would look like. But do you see this as a Trojan horse by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu and his administration going against a one-time ally but who has become an enemy? What's your take, please?
Well, for me, I don't see it as a Trojan horse. In fact, now I see why President Bola Tinubu and the National Assembly and whoever it is that orchestrated El-Rufai not becoming a minister, I now see why they did what they did. Because as at that time, I was one of those, even though personally I don't like El-Rufai, I have never hidden it.
Why?
Don't like him.
Why don't you like him? What are your reasons?
Because he is the definition of everything that evil should be defined as, that a man should not be. You understand?
Really?
And
but he made that possible. He executed all of the things.
You
to ensure
said
that
why?
President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is the president today.
Let me finish my why.
Okay, please.
No. So, I mean, from the time of Buhari, before the time of Buhari, I've never liked him. This is a man who told election observer that if they come to Kaduna, they are going to live in body bags. These are things elders don't say, especially somebody who holds public office. This is the person who are threatening national security and other tribes at several times without, on TV, on radio, he will threaten people and, promise people that they will disappear or bad things will happen to them. His children are even throwing that thing. And, as a Yoruba person, there are things that we expect that elders don't do, elders don't say. Even if they have the capacity to do it or to say it, they are not supposed to say it. And El-Rufai, lacks all those developments. That's why for me, I do not like him right from time. But I was one of his staunchest supporter, who was lambasting the government for dropping him when that saga at the National Assembly happened and they dropped him. I was one of those who lambasted the government, that the government was not loyal, the government did not know how to reward loyalty, and why would any sane human being support such government? And you see, the government kept happening then that they have a DSS report, DSS file that makes it impossible for them to put that kind of person in the cabinet as at that time. But I wouldn't hear any of it because I knew the role that El-Rufai played. In fact, if not for El-Rufai, as far as I'm concerned, Tinubu would not have emerged as the party candidate of the APC of emerging as the president. I agree and I give that to him 100%. I don't care. You know, there are so many dirty people who will say because you hate somebody, you only talk about the bad part, you not acknowledge the good part. I acknowledge the fact that El-Rufai played a pivotal role. But you see, seeing El-Rufai now, especially him coming on Arise TV last Friday, and without anybody putting words in his mouth, you know, saying that he is an accessory to such a treasonable felony crime as tapping the phone of a national security advisor of a country. You know, I am even terribly disappointed that the government, I've been cursing the government since last Friday. You know why I've been cursing the government? Simply because they allow El-Rufai to go home to sleep in his house over the weekend. Because if it were you or me who made such inflamed or provocative statement before you leave that TV studio, DSS will be there to pick you up. But they let him go home, spend the weekend in his house, even had to personally honor the invitation of EFCC. Not that somebody went to his house to go and bundle him in Gestapo manner like they do to all the rest of us. It shows to you that some people are more Nigerians than other Nigerians. Because that word that he said is enough excuse for the government to put him in solitary confinement for life. For life. Because anything that breaches national security.
Oh, dear. So we just lost Mr. Ayonuga there. I would love to believe he would join in a bit, and he was really speaking to a very salient, important issue there concerning the rift between one's good friends, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu and El-Rufai. Today, the center is no longer holding between both bodies, and one would ask why. At what point did we get to this position? Lots of Nigerians are equally asking the very important question equally. Is it because Nasir El-Rufai is not singing on your mandate, we shall stand? There are lots of people today working with this administration that have done worse things than El-Rufai. But because they are singing on your mandate, we shall stand, the eagle eye of the EFCC and the DSS not looking towards their side, then why is this against Nasir El-Rufai at this point? I'd love to believe Mr. Ayonuga will be here to clarify this and more. Has he joined us yet? Let's see if he is here with us. All right, so while we continue to wait for him to join us, okay, beautiful. Yes, are you here with us?
Yes,
okay,
I'm back.
Yeah, thank you so very much. Sorry for that little glitch. Yeah, so you can continue your thoughts, please.
So as I was saying, that they allowed him to even go back to his house to sleep shows to you that this government is very terrible. Because if it were to be you and I, you know, as a journalist, yes, you have to be the unbiased ombudsman. But if you truly want to be unbiased in this case, you will agree with me that before that show finishes, the DSS would have bundled you if you were the one that made such statement, or I am the one that made such statement. But they allow this man, you know, to go everywhere he wants to go over the weekend. It's a terrible country that we are in, and for that reason, I am blaming the government. Now, back to the issue of his invitation with the EFCC. I mean, he has case to answer with the EFCC. He has honored their invitation, and they are following due process. We cannot preempt their investigation, preempt their law. Our law says that everybody is presumed innocent until proven guilty. So I will not speak much under that. But for a House of Assembly that he himself practically selected all of them, because don't forget that it is the governor that usually gives tickets to a lot of party positions, you know, during election period. And if he is the one who practically selected almost all, I think there are about 40 of them in the House of Assembly in Kaduna State. I don't know how many conferences, and they all unanimously agreed that it should be probed. Then there must be something in the issue. Don't forget that the current governor, he was his chosen or anointed candidate. And if all of them petition EFCC against him, and there is no division between the House of Assembly and the executive arm of government, then there must be something in the matter. But we cannot preempt the court, we cannot preempt the investigation. All we say is that he has a case to answer. Nobody should follow the investigation as a witch hunt. When they were investigating governor of Kogi State, what's his name? The one that called himself White Lion. Yahaya Bello. Nobody colored it as a witch hunt. So now that it is the turn of El-Rufai, nobody should follow it as a witch hunt. In fact, I am disappointed at the DSS that they also did not arrest everyone who came to protest in support of El-Rufai when he went to EFCC yesterday. Because all you just need is arrest all of them, let them explain the role. Maybe they are the one El-Rufai was referring to as the person who tapped the DSS, the National Security Advisor's phone number. So that sometimes, if there is no punishment, people will not get sense. People will not understand that when it comes to national security, there are kind of rough plays that you don't make. Because, and you see, these politicians understand this. That's why they have weaponized poverty. They have weaponized, lack of access to quality education, so that people will not know and their eyes will not be open, such that they will be able to know their left from their right. Because who associates with somebody who has just committed a treasonable felony on live TV? Who is that person in his right senses that associates with such a person at this critical juncture in time? I hear that even CSOs are going out to protest concerning El-Rufai. I think every CSO organization that protests in support of El-Rufai should be probed. They should be probed. They should be made to answer for their role in, tapping of the National Security Advisor's phone number.
Yes, it's actually quite interesting you've said all of this. And Nigerians, lots of concerned Nigerians will be equally bothered why this is happening at a time like this. Is it because Nasir El-Rufai is not singing on your mandate we shall stand? There are lots of politicians today. Senate President Godswill Akpabio has a case to answer with the EFCC. Today he is the Senate President of the 10th Assembly. Governor Okowa is reported to have, of course, siphoned about 1.3 trillion naira from Delta State government. He has joined the APC, singing on your mandate we shall stand. The EFCC, the eagle eye of the EFCC, is no longer looking towards him. And so many other issues, litany of issues like this. So don't you think at this point, as much as I agree that you want to be rational with everything that you say, don't you think there might be a subtle amount of the government going against him because he is not plugged into the center?
Well, it is not about plugging to the center or not plugging to the center. The example that you use concerning Godswill Akpabio, for example, is about one, he has a case to answer, and the case does not die. Even though he has immunity now as Senate President, his immunity will finish when he leaves office. He will still answer his case. We are just being in a hurry. It may take 10 years. It may take 8 years. He will answer his case. Don't forget that, what's the name of this former Taraba governor that was jailed eventually? Yes. He left office in 2007. A stadium was named after him in Jalingo. I think is it Jolly Yame or
Jolly
something?
Yummy, yeah.
But it took almost 10, 15 years before the case got concluded. And he was sentenced, I think, in 2017. And this is somebody who left office in 2007, and the case was raging on and on for a long time. So the fact that if they like, let them sing on your mandate, let them not sing on your mandate. Eventually, uh, either the president will terms will expire or another party will come in, they will still face the music. It's just a matter of time. So I don't want to see this as a witch hunt. And for me, whatever excuse of witch huntery that anybody wants to say, eh, anybody who opens his mouth and say, the government used to tap our phone from time to time, which we have people who help us tap their phone. eh, and he's saying that he did not just tap any government phone, he was specific that it was National Security Advisor's phone that he tapped. I mean, if any journalist in Nigeria at all has sense, any journalist, and I'm not apologetic, I was a full-time journalist before I changed my line of work. If somebody says something like that threatens your national security, even if they give you the PR work to help them whitewash their image, you will not collect it because you would understand that it is when the nation is safe, that is when you are safe, and that the government is doing these things, illegal things, does not give any individual also an excuse to do the same thing, and that they are now doing it. They have grown wings so much that they can brag about it, they can talk about it, and you see, they still go to their house and sleep when you know that the actor did not say anything related to that is of national security threatening level, but he has disappeared since 2019. Uh, Stephen Kephas was jailed for 109 days by this same El-Rufai for revealing the one-on killing that was going on in southern Kaduna that they didn't want to get to press. He was jailed for 109 days. He's a journalist like you and I. What is the name of this guy that showed us the video of Ganduje pocketing dollar in his pocket? His career was almost ruined for telling us the truth. These are journalists like us who are Fisayo Soyombo, I mean, is running for his life every now and then for telling us the truth, for showing us the truth. And then somebody, because he's a former governor, will now come and say such a big thing. And then we have some senseless group of people, be you journalists or whoever, I don't care, still speaking English to spin the narrative in support of such a person. It shows how terrible we all are, and we all must condemn, Nasir El-Rufai, and must even support the government, even if we don't like the government itself. We must support the government to make sure that the full weight of the law is brought upon him, to the letter on this matter. It is not a matter of which one. I mean, did what's the name of the guy that was interviewing him? Did the guy put word in his mouth? Rufai Hosseini. Did Rufai Hosseini put word in his mouth? Rufai Hosseini was even trying to correct him that don't burn yourself, or don't put rope on your own neck. He was boldly saying it, that after all, the government used to do it clandestinely, illegally. And yes, governments all over the world do it illegally. All over the world.
But at the same time, don't you think the reason El-Rufai has this gusto to say all the things he's saying now is because he knows, like he has often said, he knows how, according to him, that they brought President Bola Ahmed Tinubu to power and they know what they did. I do not know what it is exactly. Don't you think he knows too much? He knows too much that maybe, just maybe, this administration is scared at this point that he might have to reveal more than what they had ever thought about?
Scared of what? After God, it is government. This administration can trace any government, not just this administration, any government can trace and make to disappear whatever he thinks he puts his trust in. He does not manufacture the technology. And no matter what he has in his war chest, the government always has more. The government can even borrow our future to do more, to fight against that person. So saying when you are saying maybe he knows much, it's like you are giving credit to make them look more important than they actually are. Nobody. Go and ask Edward Snowden. Edward Snowden is not somebody, he's a technology guru. He's a technology guru. But despite it, did you know how they were able to cover him? And then they can always spin their narrative to counter his narrative. I don't know what he knows, but there are things that you don't say. Hello? Any rational human being. And let me also tell you that if the person who said that thing was to be a Southerner, even if he is a former governor, let's assume it was Wike that said what El-Rufai said, or it is Ayo Fayose that said what El-Rufai said, he would be in jail right from the doorstep of that studio.
So why do you think he is not in jail?
Because
do you think we
he's
are...
a Northerner now.
So does that mean that the law? So does that mean that the law is slight and subtle on Northerners at this point, because President Bola Ahmed Tinubu wants the vote of the Northerners?
No, it's not at this point. Don't get it twisted. At every point, you see a wheelbarrow pusher who sells onion, a Northerner wheelbarrow pusher who sells onion on the streets of Lagos has more rights than you. You and I know these things. Yes, you may not want to admit it publicly because your job as a journalist is not to admit to such narrative and to try to find balance. But you and I know in our church mind that a wheelbarrow pusher, I'm sure you'll be looking at the face of your crew in the studio, those behind the camera, they will be nodding to what I'm saying, that I'm saying the correct thing, that a Northerner who is a wheelbarrow pusher has more rights than you. I've seen situations where, I think back during Governor Fashola's time, where someone committed an offense. I can't remember the whole story now, but I know that the moment he was arrested, he called a senator in a state in the north, and one way or the other, I don't know how the information got to the top. They called them in the police station to release him. And I can count thousands of. How do you think that the Fulanis go scot-free, do things as they want in this country? And it's not just also any Northerner. In this country, the Fulani comes first, the other Northerners come second, then you Southerners come maybe third or fourth or fifth, or whatever position you find. You and I know this thing. That is why when terrorists invade camps, military camp in the north, you don't see the military go into the town where the terrorists came from and level the town to the ground. But once it happens in the southeast, you will hear Operation Crocodile Tears, Operation Kiniko, immediately. I mean, just recently in the Niger Delta, was it last year or 2 years ago?
Okwama.
Okwama, yeah, thank you. You saw what happened in that place. Has something worse than that not happened to military officers in states in the north? What has happened to those areas where those things have happened to military officers in the north? So it shows to you that some people are more Nigerian, and we should stop deceiving ourselves and try to pretend that we are equal. We are not equal. That's why me, as a sensible person, I will not misbehave towards a Northerner, especially a Northerner in power. I won't say my right is my right, because I know that in this country, we are not equal.
All right. So just before we withdraw the curtains for today, I would love to ask you really, does it really matter when a Nigerian says unprintable things against anyone, or especially leaders? Does it really matter at what point they said it to justify how they should be penalized? Because I'm making this statement with reference to Reno Omokri, who has said more unprintable things against President Bola Ahmed Tinubu before now, against the wife of the president, Oluremi Tinubu, against lots of things he has said. You know, he had facts, he has proofs. He's called the president at the time a drug lord and all that. And he came and he said he was sorry for all that. And today he's been blessed with the position of the ambassador. So does that mean that the magic wand only applies to people who come to say they are sorry? Would El-Rufai be given the same treatment if he says he is suddenly sorry for all that he has said?
Has Reno Omokri ever admitted to commit a treasonable felony or be an accessory to a treasonable felony like tapping the phone of a national security advisor? Whatever El-Rufai, whatever abuse El-Rufai abuses anybody is a civil matter. If the person chooses to prosecute, they will take it to the court of law and treat it like a civil case. This is a national security matter. Don't get it twisted. You know, when you are mixing it up, it makes it look as if maybe you have been paid to support El-Rufai, even though I know that's not the case. I know that you are just doing your job as a balanced human being to help us look at all the angles, you see. But you must always have on the fact that this is not just a case of your papa, your mama. It's a case of national security. You don't understand? It means that if they can tap the national security advisor, every time the national security advisor is giving instruction to the chief of defense staff, to the minister for defense, and they are gisting, they can actually hear whatever they are saying and then pass the information on to Boko Haram. No wonder when government say they plan to attack terrorists and bring them to book, the terrorists would ambush them because they have already known ahead of time. Do you know how many of our officers in the military have died as a result of this tapping of phone? Do you know? Do you know how many times they get information that maybe a known terrorist leader is in one hotel somewhere in town and they are trying to arrest that person, but before they got there, that person vanishes into thin air because somebody has been able to intercept the calls of a national security officer? On one hand, we should blame the government that what kind of unsecure technology are they using to be that people can easily tap them. But the reason why we can't even blame them is that even the most secured country in the world, which is US, people tap their phone. But nobody in his right senses has the audacity to come and acknowledge and admit that they are tapping their phone.
But this is not the first time, Mr. Ayonuga. You know, so sorry to interject there. Sheikh Gumi had said, there was one of the programs he was having with his people, right? He said in Hausa language, actually, that when the United States and Nigeria Tomahawk thing was brewing, that he said that he got information that he has been earmarked to be assassinated. And he got that from the National Security Advisor's Office. So why isn't Sheikh Gumi equally facing the same penalty like it's been meted out on El-Rufai?
There is difference between I got information and I tapped the phone. Even though, yes, if we were in a sane country, that thing would have been investigated such that such moles in the National Security Advisor's Office would have been brought to book by now. I agree with you. But you see, there are two different things in that statement. I can open my phone down or open my laptop down, and you just pass by my laptop in the office. If I'm careless, for example, you just pass by my laptop and you read maybe whatever message was on my laptop, and if it is of very important significance, and then you went to another office and gisted with another co-worker about it, and before you know it, that information gets to where we don't want it to get to. We have a national data privacy law that is in place now, that the government have been advertising that people should, take data privacy seriously. In fact, the penalty for data privacy breach, according to what I heard, is 2% of the gross income of the organization in which that data privacy breach happens. So if, say, an organization made 2 trillion in a year, for example, 2% of that would be about 40 billion, that they will pay of the gross income, not of the net income, gross. That's what the law says. And if there are these laws here and there, Gwimi can say, yes, it was data privacy breach. He didn't say I tapped phone. You see, words are weighted. And it is the weight of the word that criminalizes you or exonerates you. I heard this information, or I got this information, even from someone in the national. I mean, as journalists, we have our ways. With the FOI bill that was signed, many of the information we want, even when we go through the normal route of the FOI bill, they don't get released to us. But as journalists, one of the first things that they taught us is our ability to sniff out the news in every situation. Eyes and nose for the news. Isn't that what they taught us? And so, in getting the news, we have our ways of getting information from whatever sources, and we protect our sources. In fact, the law even protects us such that we are able to protect our sources. We can't, tell the world who our sources is. But any journalist that now says, I tap, or I know I asked somebody, or somebody who tapped the phone of somebody else, let's even forget national security advice, has crossed the line. And so he or she must be made to answer. And that person is still working. If it were to be in US, they would have been sent to Guantanamo Bay. So that, for me, until the Nigerian government send him they should remand him in a prison in the Niger Delta Creek, or somewhere where it's not accessible to all his northern, friends and sympathizers, while the investigation is going on. Until Nigerian government does that, then I know they are not serious about getting to the root of the matter. But if they do that, then we know that they are serious, that they want to get to the root of the matter. How can somebody make such? Do you know what the implication of that to your business world, to investors who want to come and invest in your country, to other terrorist organizations outside your country who want to use your country as a base, who have been eyeing your country but they have not come in yet? Do you know the implication both now and in the future of what he said? If you look at all the angles and implications of it, every sane Nigerian blood should be hot. No matter how much you hate the government, your blood should be hot in hatred for El-Rufai for admitting such.
All right, we hope that things will get better. Apart from that, El-Rufai equally alleged that Ribadu had allowed for the importation of 10 grams of telmat sulfate, a substance that's usually
Thallium
called
sulfate.
Yes, that's often called a poisonous poison because of the chemical combination of that particular substance. Well, this and more is what is hanging on El-Rufai and everything he had to say. But remember, El-Rufai is someone who plays dirty, who fights dirty. He said he would not go down alone on all of this. Yes.
And that is why the government must not hold anything bad. The government must fight him dirtier than he expects. He expects the government to cower down, to be taking measured steps, so that he will be having his way. That is what he expects. But if the government goes down and fight as dirty as he wants, they should go after him, go after his wife, go after his children. By the time they searchlight on all of them, none of them will be found unfair. His children have made several incendiary statements that are there on Twitter that are enough to send somebody, to Guantanamo Bay. They should go and look for all of those. His children have been commissioners, have been members of the National Assembly, and I'm sure that their hands have been in one cookie jar or the other elsewhere. The government should go and dig it all up, because the government has the resources to dig it all up and fight as dirty as they want. Not just him, his cousins, his nephew, his nieces, everybody associated with him. By the time they go as dirty as he wants to go, you will know that, there is a saying in Yoruba language that meaning that when a man pees while walking and a woman pees while walking, one will have more water behind their leg than the other. So if the government is playing with kid glove or with measured step with him, then he will continue to have a say. And I mean, by the time government, for example, if government had gone and arrested everyone, that came to protest in support of him yesterday, then all the CSO organizations that are protesting in support of him, by writing letters and all the rest, government should, send invitation letters to all their leadership. Let them all come and answer for their role in the tapping of the phone of national security. That alone is enough excuse for government to, go after everybody, former governor, whoever it is that is in support of him. That alone, it's like somebody that, there's a Yoruba that says, anytime person get home people para, somebody that they want to roast, that is now using petrol as body cream. That is exactly what he did.
So adding salt to the injury at this point.
Yes, it was an unforced error that rather than quickly self-correct, he kept admitting.
But what if he goes 360 degrees, for instance, hypothetically speaking, if he says that he is sorry, do you think we should apply the magic wand on him?
Well, if they do that, what it means is that they have now opened the floodgate of hell to get loose on Nigeria, because what that means is that every Tom, Dick, and Harry can now get their hands on those technology, and I can decide to hack the governor's phone, whoever's phone in my state, and all the rest. But would that make it right? Do you know that what makes this world to be orderly is secret? Did you know what God did to somebody who wants to hack God's phone? God said, all the trees in this garden eat, except for the tree of knowledge of good and evil, do not eat of it. What did they hack the phone and ate of that tree? It wasn't forgiveness. So he sent them out of the garden. And this case should be akin to that case. It's not something that you joke with. And I'm so sorry that we southern Nigerian people, that are not angry. I don't know, maybe I'm just getting unnecessarily angry, because personally, I don't have anything against El-Rufai as a person other than the fact that I just don't like style right from time. But what he said, I look at all the economic, social, security, and other implications for the country. Because if you can tap National Security Advisor's phone, it means they have tapped all the 36 governors' phone, they have tapped the Senate President's phone, and they can share this information with terrorists anywhere in the world, anytime, any day, and nobody is safe. And then you will expect us to be coming to blame those same governors who are having sleepless nights to protect us.
All right.
How do you blame them?
All right. And I think we can go on this issue, and I'd love us to have a part 2 if it's possible. We will let you know how that goes, though. Thank you so very much, Mr. Benga. I truly do appreciate your time. And that's our time equally for today. We'd love to call it a quit. Please do well to follow us, if you may. You can find us at enterprisetvnews.com.